we will turn our focus to a growing national concern, banditry in Nigeria, with specific attention on the recent deadly clashes in Zamfara state. In the past week, Zamfara witnessed a major escalation in violence following the killing of the notorious bandit kingpin Dang Bokolo by government forces. The military operation aimed at dismantling key criminal networks in the region succeeded in neutralizing one of the most feared figures in the northwest banditry landscape. But the aftermath was swift and deadly. In a reprisal attack, suspected bandits launched coordinated assaults on security formations and nearby communities, leading to the loss of several personnel and innocent civilians. These counterattacks reveal not only the operational capabilities of these groups, but also a disturbing level of intelligence and coordination that poses a renewed threat to national security. Now, this development raises critical questions about the changing nature of banditry, its links with other criminal networks, and the capacity of our security forces to adapt to these evolving threats. Is the current strategy enough? What gaps remain in intelligence gathering, community cooperation, and interagency coordination? And how do we break the endless cycle of attack and retaliation, especially in areas already worn down by years of conflict and fear? Joining us to unpack these issues is a retired Wing Commander Musa Salmanu, a respected security expert and former military officer with years of experience in internal security and counter-insurgency operations. You're welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
All right, today he'll help us make sense of what these recent developments mean for Nigeria's broader security landscape. Again, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
All right. In the past week, as we reiterated, Zamfara witnessed a major escalation in violence following the killing of the kingpin, which is known to be Bello Turji's cousin and a mentee as well. And they've been running around in the same rings as well. But then with the recent neutralization of Bokolo, what do you think the outcome would be in those regions? Is there going to be a bigger surge in insurgency, or is it going to cut down on that particular issue?
Well, thank you so much once again. And the neutralization of Bokolo, like has been of other kingpins. We had Sububu in the past and so on and so forth. And you find out that such neutralization, for the immediate effect, it heightens morale, especially of the troops and other community efforts or, states at all levels, security efforts, and even the communities that have been traumatized by these bandits, so to say. But what used to happen in the past, and we pray that there's a break from that, is that there will be lull in activities, and that unfortunately gives them the time to regroup, re-strategize, rearm themselves, restock, and sometimes even hit back. And when they hit back, they hit with the ferocity that is even or deadlier than what we have witnessed in the past. So what this momentum, what we should do is that we should take advantage of this momentum, take advantage of this loss and the demoralization that is likely going to cause in their ranks, and the disorganization before they get themselves ready and so on, and hit them hard. So if there is consistency, the momentum is maintained or even increased, because like I said, when there is such success, it gives the troops morale, they want to do more and so on and so. So let's maintain this, let's even hit harder and go after the leadership. When the leadership is neutralized, there's a likelihood that there will be some kind of disorganization, and before they regroup, we're able to get a lot of them. And when also in this confusion, they let down a lot of things if we follow very, very keenly. So this is the time to get intelligence, because they will be in disarray. this is the time to know who is the likely next leader. What do you do about him? What, how? So this is just a very, very critical stage that if it's properly harnessed, all the information, all the intelligence and so on are harnessed, it could be a very good turning point. Because from all available information, Mbokolo is one of the fairest and bandits that is within that area. Even Turji is said that differs to him when it comes to intensity of terror of events.
All right. With these developments, and you said increased intensity would aid in, helping neutralizing, those insurgencies. What do you believe are the gaps that remain in intelligence gathering and community cooperation, as well as interagency coordination? Because at the end of the day, as you said, they need to be hit hard and quick as well. So what do you believe are the gaps that need to be addressed?
So for me, some of the gaps could be issues, looking at them broadly, there's issue of actionable intelligence. Now, sometimes we tend to blame communities, but I mean, the blame does not really stop with the community. Security agencies have a responsibility to have their own agents, their own, what I call them, networks that could get its intelligence.
On the ground.
On the ground. Yes, communities could assist to a large, but remember that communities have bear the brunt of giving intelligence sometimes. So there's always the fear that when this attack, when these bandits or recalcitrant elements are pursued, that they come after the community. So there will be that holding back from community. You can't blame them. They're trying to, it's kind of survival. You want to preserve yourself first before. So there's need for us to increase our ability to get actionable intelligence and get it timely, because timely intelligence is key, especially in this case when you have these targets. A lot of them are not static in one place. So they are mobile. They are moving from one location to the other. So you have to get timely intelligence and also capacity to respond. Capacity to respond immediately and effectively. Now, in terms of that, when you get intelligence, but your response is slow or your response is delayed, you find out that by the time you respond, the efficacy of that response is not there, and you must have missed the target. And that's why you have a lot of times that just last minute, so people were here, and the next minute when there is an attack, you hear that it was maybe mistaken identity and so on and so forth.
But then do you believe there's enough or a decent synergy between security agencies in Nigeria?
Well, I'm getting there, because we have, to a large extent, if you look at the security architecture itself, you find out that there are so many layers, and there are so many also actors in that theater. You find out at the federal level, there's the federal security apparatus that is there. There's at the state level and even at the community level. Now, at the federal level, you find out that, yes, to a large extent, there has been an increase or an enhanced collaboration by efforts, and it's understood. But then, remember, the terrain they are not very familiar with the terrain like the local forces would be. That's the state vigilante organization and even the local communities. So what we need is the synergy let it cascade down at the state, at the community levels. Let them be working hand in hand. We've seen that in cases where there are mistaken identities or something, it's a situation whereby maybe there is call for firepower, because it's the military that has that capacity to do that. But you find out that there might not be a lot of coordination with the local vigilantes or the local operators on the ground. And that's where you find out that instead of, in past incidences where they are hit, instead of the the bandits being hit this time. So there's need for increased collaboration. There's need for, but I can understand also, for every thing you have to look at what are the advantages, and there is need for operation security. And I can imagine that there will be that fear, because how do you guard your intelligence? How do you guard the information? How do you guard your operations? How do you maintain that confidentiality and the security that is attached to it? So there must be the effort to strike a balance between ensuring that if this gets out, is likely to get to them, and also ensuring that the people on the ground are able to know to a large extent in a way that there could be that synergy, there will be that collaboration, and the firepower is effective.
All right. So with the recent development, and as you said earlier, there would be, should I say, recon and recuperation for the group. How does, the cycle get broken, and those communities that have been attacked countless times and are more vulnerable, how will those communities be safeguarded by especially the Nigerian military?
So the vicious cycle, the cycle goes round and round because of the inability to halt, their ability to attack. Now, for as long as they have that organization, for as long as they can mobilize, for as long as they can attack communities and escape, if I'll put it that way, there will be incentive to do that again and again. For as long as until we are able to break and ensure that we pressurize, when I say we, I mean this government and the communities and so on, we're able to ensure that there's a heavy price for every attack that is made. They are not able to attack those vulnerable areas and get away with. So until we are able to push them to an angle whereby it's no longer, it doesn't pay for them to do that. And then you will now start seeing them, like we've seen in the past in the Northeast, what they might call voluntary surrenders and so on and so forth. But for as long as they will get away with it, for as long as they can attack and have a kind of, I don't want to say free movement, but something close to that, this cycle is going to continue because the consequences are not enough to bring them to surrender. So, like I said, this is the time to even intensify the tempo. This is the time to ensure that they are hit so hard. This is the time to ensure that we go after the leadership, because the foot soldiers are, can be dealt with in a way. But the leadership is very important. When you go after the leadership, then you are probably likely going to stop that cycle. Now, on firepower alone may not.
I was coming to that. Because according to reports and speculations that they have more firepower or more sophisticated firepower than our security agencies. What are your...
That's not true.
Right.
You see,
so if you could elaborate that for us.
That's not true. Let's take one simple example. They don't have air capabilities. Have you heard, that, for example? They don't have the capacity for air reconnaissance, for example, to gather intelligence from the air and so on. That's just one. And if you go even weapon to weapon, it's just exaggeration to say that they are more equipped, they are more whatever. What perhaps they have is, you can't deny, is that they have the mindset to fight, and the will, if I put it that, the will to fight, even in very strenuous, very serious, very dangerous situations. So that will is perhaps what needs to be broken. What is it that, until that will is taken away from them to be able to fight, or even with a stick, I can assure you someone with an AK-47 can, with the will, determination can scare someone with a bigger weapon. So what we need to, and that's why if I refer back to what I've been saying, is that now that we have our troops on the offensive, let us not slow down. Let us not scale back and so on. And yes, firepower, like I said, the kinetic means is not enough. While we do that, we have to also find a way of winning the hearts and minds of the communities generally around there. Ensuring that when there is need for immediate intelligence, when there's need for information, when there's need to show, that collaboration between the communities is there, or with the communities is there. Because in this type of warfare, firepower, as important as it is, mine alone will not win the war for you. There is a combination of all these factors which we must use at this time and ensure that we break them.
All right, we've spoken about that insurgent-ridden region, which is mostly Zamfara, Sokoto, Katsina. In your assessment, what factors have allowed those groups, like those in Zamfara, to grow in strength and boldness over time? Because it's been way too long they've been operating all through.
So, there are so many factors, and a lot of development experts have analyzed that. There is the greed and grievance, if I'll put it in that, because anybody you speak with can give you reason for bad behavior. Now, taking that intent or taking that into actions is what has. Now, and again, when this is allowed to fester for so long, it becomes so difficult to solve. So there was a kind of being very busy with perhaps the Northeast. This was seen as something minor, and it was allowed to fester on. It were allowed to grow in strength to the extent that before it was realized they have already become so big and a threat. Now, so it points also to something that as a society or community in Nigeria we are very bad at. We always allow a problem to fester for too long until it grows. Everybody sees it. There are intelligence reports about it every time, but nobody wants to take any decisive action. So inability to take decisive action at the very early stage was what allowed this to go on for long and become mature, yes, to become what it is today. So what will happen is that whereas the kinetic actions is needed to subdue it to the barest minimum, immediately or alongside that is the need for us, like the Chief of Defense Staff, General Musa, keeps saying, good governance. You can't replace good governance with any other thing. What do we mean by good governance? Providing social and basic amenities to those communities, bringing development closer to the people, bringing government close to people, making sure that the judicial system collectively, both security and judiciary and so on, to the person on the ground, or to the average person, there is that assurance that if there is any grievance, that will be adequately looked at, and they don't have to take the law into their hands. If you look at the history of this banditry in the Northwest, it started with things like cattle rustling. It started with farmer herder conflicts, a bit of communal issues here and there that were not resolved. And the issue of grievance of being sidelined, that's lack of political inclusion and so on and so on. So those same issues are those, when they are reversed, are the ones that will solve the issue permanently. Security efforts or the security agencies can do as much, which is to subdue it to a level where the civilian actors or the political components will carry from there. But if we stop halfway, which is what usually happens in most cases in Nigeria, if we stop halfway, I can assure you that it's a matter of time it comes back again and might be deadlier than what we already have.
All right. So of recent, we've seen a disturbing pattern of targeted ambushes on security personnel. How would you assess? Well, we've spoken about their tactical sophistication, but then there have been speculations that they even use drones when it comes to reconnaissance and that. What do you think about these targeted ambushes and the sophistication of, their tactics?
So when there are so many ambushes, it points to something. What it points to is lack of operation security. That's information. That means troops movement is linked to someone, by someone. So what it means is that, and that could explain, like I said earlier on, the reluctance of sharing this information, and which makes it look as if there is no proper coordination between the forces on the ground and the other fighting forces. So when there is repeatedly that, but it also shows in in the tactics of the government security forces, the inability to clear those routes that are being followed, to see beyond their immediate vicinity, which is also a kind of limitation. What it shows is that you don't have recce capabilities, or even if you have them, you're not able to clear the route before the main forces come in, or you're not. So that means you're not able to secure your own route there, or you have not done proper recce or even secure if there's any firepower. So there are pointers to some tactical issues here and there, which I'm sure the government security forces have to look in, because if one ambush is perhaps in an operation can be ignored, not ignored, can be excused, but when there are repeated ambushes, then it points to some lack of proper tactical issues that are apprehended. Now, back to the issue that it's a myth that we keep saying that they are more armed. I can assure you, no, they are not more armed. But if you look at the theater, whether it's from the northeast or now in the northwest, some of these weapons actually, they get them when they overrun units. So it's not that they are more armed, it's turning the government security forces arms on them. So what it just says is that more than anything else, more than even the weapons and the fighting systems and the rest, is the personnel that is behind that. So the focus should now be how well trained, how well motivated, and how equipped are our own forces, right? So when they are motivated, when they are trained, and when there's that morale in them, you can find out that they are going to do wonders. They have done that in the past, and they can do that. They can reignite that again. So, and that goes back to what I'm saying, that we've gained the momentum now in that theater. We should maintain that.
All right. Lastly, should I say, before we wrap up, how effective have the government responses, including the kinetic operations, as you've been saying, negotiations, efforts, and the state-level amnesty program been so far? And where do you see Nigeria in its whole space when it comes to insecurity, and how we can, achieve, I wouldn't say total tranquility, but how we can achieve some peace in the long run?
So for me, the government, yes, there have been efforts, but the efforts and there have been wins here and there. If you look at some of the theaters, yes. Now we cannot ignore the fact that we need additional numbers. Numbers is a numbers thing. So in terms of the armed forces and other government security forces, there is need to increase the number. We have to accept the reality that we are almost at a wartime. What happens in wartime? You increase, basic tactics says that you must outdo your enemy 1 to 3. That's even in conventional warfare. Now in warfare where There's, for example, the enemy is not known because the enemy is within civilian targets, and therefore, so you need numbers, you need intelligence, and you need technology. Technology in the sense that you are able to see them far, you are able to have deliberate attacks and targeted attacks so that it reduces collateral damage and other instances, and so that you are able to sensitize the environment itself, and also be able to demarcate where the good guys, if I call them, and the bad guys, and so on. So there's that. There's the numbers. There's technology on the part of, say, government. Then on the part of state government, I've seen that a lot of state governments are making efforts to supplement or to complement, to complement efforts of the federal government. In Zamfara State, in Katsina State, in Kaduna State, and many other states of the north, and in fact generally in the country, states are setting up security outfits that complement the efforts of the federal government. This is laudable effort. However, it must be emphasized that this training is key, and also the welfare of those people, or of those recruited to do that. Because if you don't take care of the welfare and the training and so on and so forth, and their modus operandi, rules of engagement and so on, all those type of trainings, you find out that you are setting up something that comes back to bite. They are the same people that are likely to leak out this information. There are people that are likely to take laws into their hands, and you can hear extrajudicial killings and so on and so forth. But what this does is to increase the intensity of violence, because when that is done, people are not trained and they behave. So there is need for that to bring them to a certain level. Communities also have a responsibility in this. Communities must not or should not harbor, would I call them criminals and so on, give out this information before things get so bad. These people are members of the community, and these people live within the communities. And if communities decide that these people will not be in their communities, you find out that there are the tendencies that this will reduce to the barest minimum. So until there is that collective effort by everyone that is involved, then generally by government, I keep saying, and to re-emphasize that we cannot replace good governance with anything else. Because it's only when people have a stake, is when people feel that they are being taken care of to the best of their ability. When these social amenities are provided, that remove the basis for grievance. Now, what we're left with perhaps is the greed in humans, which, if you are able, can now be tackled as criminals.
All right.
And reduces or pull off their ability to recruit from the communities that they are.
All right, thank you very much. It was an absolute pleasure. Retired Wing Commander Musa Salmanu, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that is all we have for you on this segment. Make sure you stay with us.